Today, actually, we are going to discuss another verse from KhaggaVisana Sutta. As you all probably can remember, we were discussing KhaggaVisana Sutta from Sutta Nipata. And KhaggaVisana Sutta is one of the very famous suttas available in Sutta Nipata because this is attributed to Pacceka Buddhas. Actually, the attribution was done by the commentator that telling that each and every verse available in this sutta is uttered by a Pacceka Buddha after his being enlightened. So, actually, the Gautama Buddha is the one who preached all these verses available in this sutta. And anyway, later when giving the commentary to the sutta, commentator has mentioned that each and every verse was uttered by the Pacceka Buddha. Now, we actually have went through many verses. Actually, this has almost 40 verses. And now we have come to the 53rd. Actually, starts with 35, and now we are in the 53. Altogether, there are 40 verses. Now, here in this sutta, there is a kind of a simile given. So that is Naga. Naga here means an elephant. Now, at one time, there is one king called Brahmadatta. So that is the typical name given for the old kings. So King Brahmadatta has ruled the country for 20 years. And then he has reborn in the hell realm for another 20 years. And he was tortured for long 20 years at the hell. And then as a result of remaining unwholesome karma, he became a huge elephant. Now, there is some similar incident happened to our Bodhisattva as well. So that is actually explained in the Themiya Jataka. So when the Prince Themiya was born, so he was actually born to a royal family. And at that time, Prince Themiya understood that he has actually ruled the country for 20 years, but had to go through some torturing at the hell realm for 20,000 years. So it's in a way, what Themiya has to went through is disastrous in a way compared to this situation. Here, 20 years in the ruling as a king and then 20 years in the hell. Nowadays also people are trying hard to become the king, become the president, prime minister, etc. But anyway, we can think of what would be the repercussions. So in this life, maybe the king, next life, maybe another, maybe someone, maybe in the hell realm, who knows? Because the kingship actually has a lot of punishments and you have to be with arguments and always dealing with various questions, problems, many issues, and you are being tortured in a way as a king. And always maybe dealing with various difficulties. And there is no time, every time busy. So likewise, so anyway, what happened to this king is also something like that. So he has ruled the country for 20 years, but unfortunately reborn in the hell, and he was there for another 20 years. Now, after passed away from the hell realm, he again became an animal that is a huge elephant. Now, this elephant, by the way, is somewhat wise, and he being the leader of the herd, actually he felt that he can't be this other, say, elephants, and because of his kind of a attitude he has. Because again he has to live as a king in a way, even though it's to the herd of elephants. Now this fellow is in a way somewhat not interested in that. Somehow, according to the commentary, so he has decided, somehow he know that there's a kingdom, now it is ruled by his nephew. And now he's decided to go to that place. So while all the other elephants are sleeping or something, and this elephant leave to that kingdom. And it is mentioned that somehow he was able to reach there and got the affection of that king. And somehow he informed the king also that he is this present king's grandfather. So I don't know. I mean, the commentary says that somehow through the human communication method, somehow this elephant has communicated to the king that he was the king for several years ago. He is the grandfather, and please allow me to stay in this garden, royal garden. So the present king is also a very wise person, and he allowed this elephant to stay in the garden. This is very much like an angel story, by the way. This is how the commentary mentioned about what really has happened. Now, while he was staying in the garden, now the king is also quite affection to this elephant because it's a huge elephant, and he is being used for the various royal ceremonies, and king also uses this elephant. And while this king, the present king, was using this elephant one day, this present king was reflecting. Now this elephant is saying that he was my grandfather. It was my grandfather. Long time ago. He ruled the country for 20 years. But as a result of that, he has to suffer in the hell realm for another 20 years. Still the karma was not completely finished. And as a result of remaining karma, he has to become an animal again. Now he don't like to stay with the herd. Now he has come back to the kingdom. And he actually don't like to stay with a group of elephants. So being with a group of people is a kind of a burden. So this is how the present king is thinking. Now, as I mentioned in the early sessions, this whole KhaggaVisana Sutta has a theme of seclusion. So the whole theme of this KhaggaVisana Sutta is seclusion. So therefore, you don't need to think that it doesn't have any other meaning. But main theme emphasized in this KhaggaVisana Sutta is a secluded practice or seclusion, not being with many people, not going for various associations. Now, here in this verse also, actually, this present king is now reflecting what this elephant has done. He is telling that he is my grandfather in previous lives, and then he became, when he had to go to the hell realm, and now because of the remaining karma, he has to become an animal. Now it's a kind of a lesson to this present king. So the present king is reflecting, and he is a very wise person. As a ongoing reflection, he was able to have various insights. And it is said in the commentary, while traveling on the elephant, he became a Pacceka Buddha. Now the ministers are still addressing him as the king. Now Pacceka Buddha is telling, no, I am not a king now. I am a Pacceka Buddha. Now he's, in order to show his Pacceka Buddhahood, his realization, he has uttered this verse. So this is how the commentary explain it. Nagova yutani vivajjayitva sanjata kando padumi ularo yathabirantang viharang aranye eko chare KhaggaVisana kappo. Nagova yutani vivajjayitva. As a bull elephant who has left the herd, abandoned the herd, Sanjata Kando Padumi Ularu. Now again mentioning about the various qualities of this massive elephant. With massive back, lotus-like, eminent. So these are the bull elephant, a huge elephant, not a typical elephant. But this particular elephant has left the herd. Yathabirantang viharam aranye. Now he has come to a seclusion and he is now living in the secluded life. And now king is reflecting, may I also be alone, practice in seclusion like this bull elephant, who has abandoned the herd, who has inclined his life towards kind of a seclusion. May live in the forest as he pleases. Because when the elephant has to live with his herd, so there are many things to handle and many issues to tackle and many other elephants to take care of. So likewise, issues are there. But now he completely left the herd. Now he is alone, he can take care of himself. So here again you can understand, so the seclusion is the point highlighted. Now in the commentary, actually in Bhikkhu Bodhi's translation, he has further elaborated, mentioning some another information taken from the Niddesa Pali. So there he mentioned, actually in the Niddesa Pali it is mentioned that Naga, the bull elephant, is a simile for a Pacceka Buddha. So there are certain similarities. Actually even Buddha has mentioned a proper monk is also like a Naga. So there are various suttas talking about a bull elephant. Certain qualities of the bull elephant is compared with certain qualities of monkhood. Now here, it is in the Kuddaka Nikaya Chulla Niddesa Pali, it is mentioned, Agunna karoti kinchi loke, sabba sangyoge visajja bandhanani, sabbattana sajjati vimutto, nago tadi pavucchate tatatha. Now here kind of another explanation given to the Pacceka Buddha. It is mentioned, one who does not commit any crime in the world, having discarded all yokes and bondages, who is not tied down anywhere, liberated. Such a one is truthfully called a Naga. Now, this is the reason that an elephant, especially one living alone, such a secluded elephant, is given an example to a Pacceka Buddha. So certain qualities of a Pacceka Buddha is emphasized here. So he does not commit any kind of a wrong deed. That is of course understood because the Buddha, Pacceka Buddha, Arahants, so they have completely destroyed all the defilements. So their virtues and their morality are quite inherent qualities. So they don't need to purposely maintain it because their defilements are no more in the mind. So they are in a way inherently calm, internally completely virtuous. So there is no any kind of a crime, any kind of an offense that they commit. On the other hand, having discarded all yokes and bondages. Now, typically, our minds are attached with various bondages. We are thinking about various things. Suppose you are living a household life, then you have to look after your wife, your husband, your children, your car, your house, have to pay the bills, have to go to the office. So various things are there. Now even as monks, so I have to conduct this session, I have to maintain the laptop, and many things are there. So anyway, now if one is completely free from bondages, so that is in a way the liberation. So there are still things possible, there are various possessions available. But how about keeping the mind completely free? So that is the message highlighted here. Who is not tied down anywhere and liberated. Now, who is not tied down anywhere? Now, this doesn't mean really that you have to always live alone in the forest, not associating anyone, always minding your own business. So that is in a way taking in a wrong perspective. So that is also another aspect of the monkhood, we can say. But most probably, what is highlighted here is how you can live alone even amidst many people, even among many people. There may be various companions, there may be your family members, there may be you are working at an office, many of your colleagues are there. Can you be alone while many others are there? Can you keep your mind alone? Can you keep your mind free from association, free from any bondages, free from any ties? So that is the kind of a challenge that we have to achieve. So that is the path Buddha is showing in a way. So it is not always that we have to be secluded, be away from all the other people, not actually refusing their association, etc. So having seclusion is part of the practice, and that is also necessary, especially at the early stages, because you need a fair amount of seclusion to initiate mindfulness, to initiate, say, samadhi, concentration, because you can't generate enough concentration when there are many disturbances available. So that's why Buddha also recommend for you to go to a forest, to a silent place, to a secluded place, so that you get that kind of a viveka, what you call as kaya viveka, the bodily seclusion. But once you get the bodily seclusion, it is important to have mental seclusion. How are we going to have mental seclusion? So that is where the concentration helps, where you are subsiding various hindrances. Different types of sensual desires are there, so you are not promoting them. So you are slowly discarding them. So these different defilements or hindrances, you are not promoting. You are not being a victim of those hindrances. Different hindrances are now fading away. So your mind becomes more and more stable, calm, and temporarily free from defilements, temporarily free from hindrances. That is in a way one level of seclusion. You had bodily seclusion, now you have mental seclusion as well. But still, there are defilements available. So this mental seclusion is not enough, because still there is a huge potential. So once you loosen your concentration, again, various defilements start to reappear. Therefore, you have to be armed with more wisdom in order to tackle various defilements. So that is the other aspect, we can say, as the cognitive aspect of the practice, where your mind has to be strengthened with wisdom. So that is where the Vipassana especially address, where you are recognizing very subtle defilements, deep-rooted defilements, deep-rooted tendencies in our life, in our mind. Say various traits in our mind, habits in our mind. So those have to be recognized. So unless we eliminate them, unless we uproot them, we can't say I'm completely free. Now this is mentioned, who is not tied down anywhere and liberated. So this liberation mentioned here is therefore, at the beginning one may enjoy kind of a temporary liberation. Say through a samadhi, through a concentration, probably one may have certain amount of liberation, but it is temporary, only for a short time. Once again the strength of the samadhi reduce, again mind go and attach to something. Again mind trapped with various defilements. But in order to have the complete liberation, then Buddha shows the path. So that is the complete eradication of defilements, complete eradications of various asavas, influxes. and anusaya, latent tendencies. So that is in a way requires fair amount of practice. That is in a way requires ongoing vigilance, mindfulness to one's own mind. Because when the possibilities are there, when the surrounding is available or the situation arises, if there are latent tendencies available in the mind, it is possible, it is probable that various defilements are going to arise. So therefore, in a way, we have to put ourselves into certain situations and check, is my mind free from defilements now? Sometimes we overestimate ourselves. We do metta meditation for some time and we think that now there is no anger in the mind. And we do some loathsome meditations, Asubha Bhavana for some time, and probably we overestimate, thinking that there is no lust in my mind. But unfortunately, when the conditions are there, again anger arises, again lust arises. So those techniques therefore has some limited scope in a way, some limited capacity. So again and again recognizing various defilements in the mind, very carefully understanding those defilements in the mind and not allowing them to grow and allowing them to fade away is one of the important tasks we have to do. So it doesn't happen as we wish. So that is the other problem. And we wish to eliminate all the defilements quickly and feel completely liberated, to become a fully enlightened arahant. But that also doesn't happen as we wish. So it may take time. So now I am talking to you, I am not an arahant. So there may be a wish to become an arahant, but you can't do it just because of the willpower. So the conditions has to be properly satisfied. The karma and various other conditions has to ripen, and we have to continue our practice. So therefore it may take long time. So that is why Buddha encourages us to continue our practice. The path is mentioned, path is shown, and we have to have faith on the other hand. So faithfully we have to practice. Faithfully we have to practice because we have to feel that, on the other hand, we have to feel that now I have practiced for, say, several years. I was acting like this, or I was behaving like this before several years. Now where am I? Now we should have a kind of a comparison, kind of an honest comparison and see, is there any progress in my practice? Are there any reduction in my defilements? So is there any peace in the mind? Compared to previous year, how about the peace in the mind? How about the calmness in the mind? How about the understanding in the mind? Wisdom in the mind? Inner silence of the mind? Am I able to maintain my mind free from mental proliferation? So likewise, we have to, in a way, assess the situation of the mind. Then if the answer is positive, that you feel that, okay, several months ago, several years ago, I was quite subjected to various defilements. I was short-tempered. And now I am fairly stable. I am not getting quickly agitated. I am not getting impulsive, not reacting impulsively. So I can recognize various defilements at their very early stages so that I can come back to the emptiness, or I can come back to the unassociated state fairly quickly. So likewise, if we feel that there is a certain progress, even though it is not that quick as I wish, there is some progress, then at least we can say, okay, we are progressing, we are improving ourselves. So time to time, again, we feel complete liberation. In the sense, some temporary complete liberation. Mind is completely free from any defilement. And there is no any sign of defilement. There are no any perceptions. Mind is completely free. But unfortunately, again, mind go and grasp. But that grasping helps us to understand, okay, there are still latent tendencies available in the mind. There are still anusaya, asava, influxes and latent tendencies available in the mind. So I have to be careful. I have to maintain mindfulness and apply wisdom where it is necessary so that mind get liberated. So in a way, so this situation go hand in hand. Say you are expecting or maintaining some amount of, and that mindfulness shows us that the mind go and attach with something, go and cling with something. And at that moment, we have to apply wisdom and liberate the mind. So therefore, it is not that one is trying to practice now and liberate in the next year. Rather, one is practicing now and liberate the mind now. Suppose your mind go and attach with something, and now it is hooked up with something, and your mindfulness have to show it. I have taught the mind, okay, you have to be free, you have to maintain unattached mind. But he again go and grasp with something. So that is the nature. But the mindfulness will show, okay, now you lost the freedom. You are no more maintaining the kind of a lighter, free, unassociated, open, spacious attitude, state of the mind. But rather now again mind has become little burdened. Again went and attached to something. And again grasping. So you have to recognize it. And immediately you have to liberate the mind. So the liberation is instant in that sense. It is not that you are practicing something now and going to liberate mind in the next week. Rather at this very moment. So once mindfulness has shown, okay, there is sort of attachment happen, grasping happen. Now you have to apply the techniques. Apply Vipassana techniques. You have to be mindful. So that very mindfulness even may be capable of liberating the mind. Freeing the mind. Now the mind is free. The mind has become peaceful, calm. So that is how in a way we have to maintain kind of an ongoing practice. So it is not now limited to the cushion. It is not now limited to the sitting session. Not now limited to the walking session. So one has to have kind of a constant on guard of the mind. Because defilements don't have any excuses. They don't think or they don't excuse telling that, okay, now this fellow is driving, now this fellow is with children, now the person is with at the office, so I have to avoid troubling him. So defilements don't care like that. So it is in a way we can see that defilements are in search of finding a place, in search of finding a time to intrude. So whenever our mind becomes careless, whenever we become unmindful, again some sort of defilement probably can appear in the mind. So therefore we have to be in constant on guard of how the mind is reacting, how the mind is going and attaching. And accordingly, we have to liberate the mind. Accordingly, we have to apply insights, apply Vipassana techniques, apply Chittanupassana, Dhammanupassana, and so that again mind becomes unassociated. Again mind becomes free from attachments, grasping. So likewise, we have to have a kind of an ongoing practice, daily practice. And with that, I like to conclude today's sermon. And hope you can hear as I am experiencing some rain. Now I like to go for the next part, that is the question and answer session.
I'm sorry, Bhante. Currently there are 6 questions. Question number 1. This is mindfulness in day-to-day activities. Dear Bhante, My sitting and walking practice is progressing well, and I don't have major issues when doing these two practices. During the day, I also try to be mindful as much as possible.
Can you speak louder? I have put it to 100%, but still I can't see.
Oh, okay. Is this any better?
Okay.
Okay. All right. I'll speak at this volume. Dear Bhante, my sitting and walking practice is progressing well, and I don't have major issues when doing these two practices. During the day, I also try to be mindful as much as possible, and specifically during the times you have indicated, for example, brushing the teeth, having a bath, etc. Even though the mindfulness and concentration during these day-to-day activities are not that high, I manage to retain a certain amount of these qualities as spots and patches during the day. There are multiple times I realize that I am not mindful, and I can feel the difference between being mindful and not mindful as a relative feeling of easiness or stress level state of the mind. Is this something I should be focusing on, trying to understand the non-mindful state and why it happens? The reason I ask this question is that I can do otherwise as well. Forget about knowing the unmindful state, which needs to relax the mind to take whatever state it naturally selects, but focus continuously to be mindful. Thank you for the valuable guidance with metta. That's the end of the question.
Yeah. So I think we are doing well, basically understanding that the mind is not mindful right now. Basically recognizing those unmindful states of the mind is the another level that we can progress, because once we start to be mindful, there we can understand, okay, now while brushing teeth, I am mindful. While walking, I can be mindful. Say while sitting, I can be mindful. Now you can distinguish these parts or these states, these activities I am doing mindfully. But on the other hand, you can again recognize there are still certain other activities where my mind is not mindful. So I'm basically unmindful. I'm thinking various things, distractions, daydreaming, fantasizing. So many things are there. So while engage with certain other activities. So if you are able to recognize those activities where you are being unmindful, now it's a matter of introducing mindfulness to those activities as well. It's a matter of enhancing mindfulness. So you understood where you are mindful and where you are unmindful. Now it's a matter of reducing that unmindful activities and trying to be mindful in those activities as well. So you are recognizing that. So the report shows that you are now capable of recognizing those unmindful states. And it's a matter of now applying mindfulness there so that you can be more mindful, so that you can have a, say, unbroken mindfulness.
Question number 2 of 6, general question. Dear Bhante, regarding working towards secluding your mind whilst among others, and in the midst of a chaotic day-to-day life, when we mindfully observe the bondages and agitations, do we have to do it selectively, one after the other, or develop a helicopter view to be aware of the bigger picture to weaken all of them? What is the technique of being mindful of the workings of the mind? That's the end of the question.
Yeah, actually, having that sometimes we call as bird's eye view or helicopter view, whatever the name that you are using it. So that is also one aspect of the practice. So you are able to look at the whole picture, big picture of the situation. Probably you can understand where the postures are, where your body is, and where your mind is. So likewise, you can have the kind of macro mindfulness. On the other hand, when say you want to keep your attention very focused onto certain phenomena, there you have to have very focused attention, what we sometimes call as micro mindfulness. So micro type of laser type of concentration, where you are able to carefully observe. It may be a very minute information. Say, for example, while doing say Vedanānupassana. There may be various feelings available throughout the body, and probably you can see the big picture. So there are many feelings available. Some may be pleasurable, some may be painful, some may be equanimous, and certainly sometimes they happen at the same time. And you can have a big picture of the whole body at the same time. But later, if you want to pick a certain one, assume that now you want to observe carefully about the painful feeling. Now you are focusing your attention to that particular feeling, and now you are seeing its detail. So this recognizing very minute details requires very sharp mindfulness, requires very sharp, precise concentration. Therefore, both sides are necessary. You time to time can have the big picture, kind of a perspective of the complete situation. And on the other hand, you need to have a very micro type of mindfulness, very basic type of concentration, so that you can recognize even the very subtle aspects of the phenomena which you are observing. Yeah.
Question number 3 of 6. This is a general question. Dear Bhante, could you please explain how to make the ordinary sati into nipika sati and to supatipita sati? Much merits with metta. That's the end of the question.
Yeah, actually, that has to happen through the practice. So you can't willfully make it. So at the beginning, what you have is the very basic, effortful type of mindfulness. But later, as I discussed in the previous question, now you understand, okay, at these areas, at these activities, I am maintaining mindfulness. I can maintain mindfulness. But on certain other areas, I am not mindful. So you have to admit that. And it's a matter of enhancing mindfulness, and you are incorporating mindfulness to those unmindful states or unmindful activities as well. Now assume that now you have a unbroken mindfulness. So throughout the day, most of the part, you are mindful. So that is another level. And once you are further developing, so it becomes kind of quite natural. So the mind maintaining some kind of a vigilance, some kind of a diligence, so that we can say now you have supatipita sati, well-established mindfulness. But still, it also may change, because as you are moving forward, especially with the vipassana, you may even come to an area where you can't even feel mindfulness. So it is not effortful. It's not that you are purposely maintaining mindfulness. Rather, mindfulness has become effortless. It has become very much like part of the life. So you don't feel that you are purposely maintaining any kind of mindfulness. So you are purposely trying to advert your attention to something so that you are developing mindfulness. That is what we did in the past. But now, you are always, mind may remain in the present. Not much distracted towards the past, and not much distracted towards the future, and most of the time remaining in the present. And again, it is not that you are deliberately maintaining such mindfulness. So therefore, sometimes it is mentioned as effortless type of mindfulness. It has become kind of part of the mind. It has now kind of a inherent quality of the mind. So therefore, various states are there, or kind of evolution is there to the mindfulness. Actually, with the practice, it may happen. You can't willfully take it. Rather, with your practice, the mindfulness reach to different states or different stages slowly and slowly. Yeah.
Question number 4 of 7. This is general question. Dear Bhante, recently we started hearing more and more scientific evidence about mindfulness, neuroplasticity, alpha beta rays associated with mindfulness practice, etc. Does this lead to the hypothesis that the mind is just a brain function, having billions of neurons acting in patterns and consortiums, and just an electrochemical phenomena? I only have a vague idea about this and thought mind and brain can have some link, but are completely different phenomena. Thank you for the clarification. That's the end of the question.
Yes. So actually, recently there are many experiments are going on. Actually, you can search in the internet. There are many research papers, articles, videos being published by various scientists. And one very popular person is Professor Richard Davidson from Wisconsin University, USA. So he actually started several, actually not recently, about 10, 15 or even more than that, many years ago, with the help of Dalai Lama. And he went through various various experiments, and he very well understood. And there are considerable changes happen in the brain because of the mindfulness practice. There are significant changes happen to the what we call as the prefrontal cortex. The significant improvement happens there, so that your vigilance, proper understanding, decision making, so those executive functions are improved. Those are attributed to prefrontal cortex. And again, the communication happens from left lobe to the right lobe using something called corpus callosum. So there also the functionality improves. And on the other hand, there is another part called amygdala. So that is actually causing some agitation and negative states in the mind, and that functionality has reduced. So these are only minor, significant ones I have only highlighted. But you can search about Richard Davidson and how he is explaining these various improvements happening in the in the brain, various changes happen in the brain because of the mindfulness practice. By the way, actually, we don't need specifically to prove all these practices with the modern science, because Buddha has mentioned this actually 2,600 years ago, and he himself has understood everything, and he preached the Dhamma, and many others have followed and preached the same amount of understanding. And even today, today's generation, people are practicing and getting many benefits. So actually, if you have enough faith, you don't need to really go after various scientific evidences. But nowadays, by the way, with the advancement of the technology, now they actually have found these changes happening in the brain. Yeah.
Question number, I think it's 5 of 7. General question. Dear Venerable Samin Wanse, I have been practicing mindful meditation for a while. I am inconsistent with my practice, but try to do it regularly. I realize that I struggle to start the practice, as I often feel a sense of boredom or uselessness as I do the meditation. I would much appreciate your advice to overcome this. With metta, Thero Saranai. That's the end.
So basically, he's mentioning about the boredom, and what else, Chatu?
They said uselessness.
Uselessness. So I don't know what do you mean by uselessness. Boredom is of course possible, because what you have to observe are not sort of attractive objects, attractive phenomena. So if you are watching a movie, if you are listening to music, so those are quite attractive. So you can easily do it. But watching the breath is not that attractive. Watching rising and falling is not that attractive. Say, watching walking is not that attractive, because those are quite ordinary processes. So it is obvious, therefore, the practice become boredom, kind of bored, monotonous. But that is the part. Why we feel bored? So that is where we need to understand. Because our mind is so rough, and in order for it to feel happy, what we did was to stimulate it using various senses. So you have used your eyes to stimulate the mind, using movies, using, say, watching movies, watching cricket and different sports, whatever it is. So this in a way actually has made the mind somewhat rough, gross. But when you are watching something very delicate, when you are watching something very calm, so what the mind does is probably it may go to sleep, because there is no agitation, there is no any kind of a stimulation, too much stimulation. So therefore, it is quite obvious that most of the people, when they start practice, they start to fall asleep. They feel drowsy because their mind has settled or calibrated to a very gross kind of a stimulation. But in the practice, it is really a very, say, minor stimulation happen to the mind. Maybe the breath, it may be the rising and falling, it may be simply walking. So there is no hard stimulation happen to the mind. Therefore, you feel bored. But slowly, as you develop mindfulness, so the sensitivity of the mind improves, so that you can even enjoy the breath. So the breath, what you recognize as quite boring and monotonous and no use, and as you said, useless, kind of situation. But later, when the mindfulness improves, when the sensitivity of the mind improves, you may understand, okay, even the breath can make you happy and can make you blissful even. So that is why, especially in the Anapanasati, there are certain stages that some teachers are mentioning it as beautiful breath. It's not the typical boring type of breath, but each and every breath you are experiencing makes you really blissful, makes you really peaceful, makes you really elated, even heightened. Those kind of situations are there. So it takes time. So you have to be patient. So don't look down yourself and just continue the practice. So as your sensitivity of the mind improves and mindfulness also improves, definitely you can actually start to enjoy practice. Yeah.
Question number 6 of 7. This is a general question. Dear Bante, I practice morning and afternoon prayers where I take the opportunity to chant the 5 precepts, Itipiso Gata, and wish metta towards others. After this, I feel very peaceful. I wondered if this would be a good time to practice sitting meditation after the prayers. With metta, that's the end of the question.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, if you can continue your practice, basically say, because after the chanting, your mind has really calmed down and you have a lot of faith and some amount of happiness is also there. It's a very good state of mind for you to practice. Maybe Anapanasati, you can start with. Yeah.
Question number 7. This is the last one. It's actually in Sinhalese, so I might give it to Auntie to present.
Yeah, as I answer. So the question is asked in English, but then there's a text from the Piraka in Sinhala. So, dear Venerable Bhante, this question is regards to the Ditti. And would you please kindly be able to explain the following 6 types of Ditti and elaborate 3rd, 4th, and 5th lines below, please. Greatly appreciate and much merits with metta. So I think this is a copy paste from pitaka.lk or something. So it starts with මෙසේ නුවණින් මෙනෙහි කරන්නා වූ ඔහුට සය ආකාර දෘෂ්ටීන් අතරින් එක්තරා දෘෂ්ටියක් උපදී. පළවෙනි එක සත්‍ය වශයෙන් ස්ථීර වශයෙන් ආත්මයක් ඇත යන ශාස්ත්‍ර දෘෂ්ටිය හෝ උපදී. දෙක සත්‍ය
So I think we got to wait. This is actually available in the Sabbasava Sutta. So where Buddha explained about the Dasana Pahatabba. Say you have to properly establish right view. Otherwise, if you are thinking and pondering wrongly, then it is quite probable that you go and end up with the wrong view. So these six wrong views are possible because one is thinking with a self-centered attitude. So you feel there is an I. So I was in the past. I will be in the future. Now I am here. I am so and so. And actually there are 16 types of wrong thinking explained in the Sabbasava Sutta. Attributed to the past, there are 5. To the future, another 5, and the present, another 6. So likewise, there are 16 wrong type of thinking explained in the Sabbasava Sutta. Say, for example, you are thinking, did I was in the past? Well, was I in the past? Was I not in the past? What was I in the past? And what was the experience that I had in the past? From where I did come to that past. So likewise, you can think about the future. Will I be in the future? Will I not be in the future? And what would be the situation in the future? The experience that I am going to have in the future. So likewise, you are thinking about the future. Similarly, you are thinking about the present. Am I available right now? Am I present? Am I not present? From where did I come here? To where will I go after the present life? So likewise, when you are thinking like that with a self-centered attitude, then Buddha mentioned, you may end up with 6, either one or many of 6 types of wrong views. So now you can mention the first one, Chamila.
Yes.
First view.
Yes. Satya Vashen, Thero Vashen, Atmaya Atha. ශාස්ත්‍රව දෘෂ්ටිය මොකද?
අන්න හරි. දැන් එතකොට දැන් අර විදියට හිතන්න. දැන් අතීතෙත් මම හිටියා කියලා නිකන් සත්‍යයි කියලා වැටහෙන්න පුළුවන්. අනාගතයේත් ඉන්නවා කියලා වැටහෙන්න පුළුවන්. දැනුත් ඉන්නවා කියලා වැටහෙන්න පුළුවන්. එතකොට තනිකර ශාස්ත්‍රීය දෘෂ්ටියක් තියෙනවා. අතීතෙත් මම හිටියා, දැනුත් ඉන්නවා, අනාගතෙත් ඉන්නවා. හරි. දෙවෙනි එක
සත්‍ය වශයෙන් ස්ථිර වශයෙන්ම ආත්මය සිඳය යන උච්ඡේද දෘෂ්ටිය. මොකද?
දැන් එතෙන්දී බැරි වෙලාවත් අනිත් පැත්තට කල්පනා කරොත් මම හිටියා හැබැයි ඔන්න දැන් මම නැහැ. මම අනාගතයේදී නැහැ. මාක් හරි හේතුව කරන මම නැති වෙලා. දැන් මේ හිටපු මම නැති වෙලා. හිටපු පුද්ගල භාවය නැති වෙලා. සත්‍යයක් හිටියා ඔන්න දැන් සත්‍යය නැති වෙලා අතුරුදහන් වෙලා. එතනක් තියෙන්නේ වැරදි ආකල්පයක්, වැරදි දෘෂ්ටියක්. මොකද එතනත් ආත්ම දෘෂ්ටිය තියාගෙන ඒ ආත්ම දෘෂ්ටිය එකපාරටම ඔන්න අහෝසි වීමක්. ඒකට ඒ සත්‍ය වශයෙන් හිටපු මම නැති වුණා කියලා ඔන්න ඔහම දෘෂ්ටියක් ඇති වෙන්න පුළුවන් කියලා බුදුරජාණන් වහන්සේ කියනවා. හරි.
සංඥා ස්කන්ධය ප්‍රදාන කොට ඇති ස්කන්ධයන් ආත්මයයිගෙන සංඥා ස්කන්ධය නැමැති ආත්මය කරන කොටගෙන ඉතිරි ස්කන්ධ නැමැති ආත්මය දනිමියයි කියා හෝ සත්‍ය වශයෙන් ස්ථීර වශයෙන් ගන්මින් දෘෂ්ටියකට.
ඔව් දැන් මෙතනදී ඇත්තටම සංඥා ස්කන්ධය විතර දෙතනදී ගත්තේ කියලා මට මතක නැහැ. ඔතන බුදුරජාණන් වහන්සේ පෙන්නන්නේ ඒ කියන්නේ මොකක් හරි ස්කන්ධයක් ආශ්‍රය කරගෙන තමයි අපි දෘෂ්ටියක් පහළ කරගන්නේ. ඉතින් එතකොට සංඥා ස්කන්ධය වෙන්න පුළුවන්, රූප ස්කන්ධය නම් ඉතින් අතීතයේ තිබිච්ච එක අතහැරලා යාවේ. ඒ හින්දා සංඥා ස්කන්ධය වේදනාව වෙන්න පුළුවන්, වේදනා ස්කන්ධය වෙන්න පුළුවන්, සංස්කාර ස්කන්ධය වෙන්න පුළුවන්, විඥාන ස්කන්ධය වෙන්න පුළුවන්. මේ මොකක් හරි ස්කන්ධයක් මූලික කරගෙන ওই වගේ දෘෂ්ටියක් ඇති වෙන්න පුළුවන්. මොකක් වෙලාවට ඔය විඥාන ස්කන්ධය මූලික කරගෙන දෘෂ්ටි ඇති කරගෙන තියෙනවා. මේක භික්ෂුන් වහන්සේලා පවා අතර පවා ඇති වෙලා තියෙනවා. විඥාන ස්කන්ධය දිගට යනවාය කියලා වගේ දෘෂ්ටි. හොඳයි.
ඊළඟට සංඥාව ආත්මය කොට ඉතිරි ස්කන්ධ ආත්මය වශයෙන් නොගෙන සංඥාව නම් වූ ආත්මය විසින් ආත්මය නොවන ඉතිරි ස්කන්ධ දනිමි. කියා හෝ සත්‍ය වශයෙන් දැඩි වශයෙන් ගනිමින් දෘෂ්ටි උපදී.
ඔය අතරම සංඥා විතරක් නෙමෙයි. ඕකේ අතරම පාළියේ ඉන්නේ ඒ වචනේම නෙමෙයි. ඒ කියන්නේ කලින් ආත්මීය ස්වභාවයක් තිබුණා. දැන් ඒ බඳු ආත්මයේ දැන් නැති ආත්මයක් තෝරගන්නවා නැත්නම් නැති ආත්මය හඳුනා ගන්නවා කියලා එක පැත්තක්. ඒ එක දෘෂ්ටියක් ඇති වෙනවා. එහෙම නැත්නම් කලින් ආත්මයක් තිබුණ නැහැ. දැන් ආත්මය හඳුනාගත්තා කියලා තව පැත්තකින් හඳුනා ගන්න එක දෘෂ්ටියක්. එහෙම නැත්නම් ආත්මයක් කලින් තිබුණෙත් නැහැ, දැන් ඇත්තෙත් නැහැ. නැති ආත්මය හඳුනා ගන්නවා කියලා දෘෂ්ටියක්. ඔය වගේ එක එක පැතිවලට හිතේ දෘෂ්ටි ඇති වෙන්න පුළුවන් කියන එක තමයි පෙන්නලා දෙන්නේ. ඔව්.
එහෙනම් එක සංඥාවෙන් අන්‍ය ස්කන්ධයන් අනාත්මය වශයෙන්ගෙන ආත්මය නොවන වේදනාදී ස්කන්ධයන් කරන කොටගෙන ආත්මය වන සංඥා ස්කන්ධය දනිමි. හෝ සත්‍ය වශයෙන් දැඩි වශයෙන් ගනිමින් දෘෂ්ටිය උපදී. නැතෝ තෝවට මෙබඳු දෘෂ්ටියක් හෝ වේ. අන්තිම එක කියන්නේ අන්තිම එක කතා කරන්නා වූ සැප දුක් විඳින්නා වූ යම් මේ ආත්මයක් ඒ જાතියෙහි කළ කුසල අකුසල කර්මයන්ගේ විපාකය විඳීද. මාගේ මේ ආත්මය තෙමේ නිට්ටය ස්ථීරය හැමදාම පවතී. නොපෙරෙන ස්වභාවය ඇත්තේය. හැමදාම පවතින දෙයක් මෙන් සදාකාලිකයයි සම්මත වූ චන්ද්‍ර සූර්යාදීන් මෙන් එසේම සිටින්නේ යයි කියයි.
ඒක තමයි. එතෙන්දිත් ඉතින් බුදුරජාණන් වහන්සේ පෙන්වන්නේ ඒ කියන්නේ දැන් දිගට කල්පනා කර දිගට හිත හිතා යනකොට අර මමෙක් හිටියා ඒ මමයා මොනවාද දෙයක් කරා අතීතේ මේ කුසල කර්මයන් කරා අතීතේ අකුසල කර්මයන් කරා ඒකේ විපාකයක් වශයෙන් ඔන්න දැන් මේ ආත්මේ ලැබිලා තියෙනවා මේ ආත්මේ මේ පරණ කුසල අකුසල කර්මයන්ගේ විපාක දැන් භුක්ති විඳිනවා කියලා අර කෙනෙකුට ඈඳලා කෙනෙකුට හේතු කළා පුද්ගල භාවයක් හදාගෙන ඒ හිතන ආකල්පය තමයි මෙතනදීන් පෙන්ලා තියෙන්නේ. ඉතින් ඇත්තටම මේ හැම දෙයක්ම බුදුරජාණන් වහන්සේ කියන්නේ අර මමත්වයේ කේන්ද්‍ර කරගෙන මම කියන අස්මිමානයක් කේන්ද්‍ර කරගෙන පුද්ගල භාවයක් කේන්ද්‍ර කරගෙන නැත්නම් සක්කාය දිට්ඨියක් කේන්ද්‍ර කරගෙන හිතන්න හරියට නිකන් පඹගාලක පැටලෙනවා වගේ පැටලෙන්න තමයි ඔය පෙන්නලා තියෙන්නේ. හොඳයි. Are there any questions, Chatu? No, that's all, no?
Yeah, that was the last question, and we're right on time anyway, so we'll just finish up, I think.
There is a request made by Suranga. Probably Chamila can explain that, right?
Yes, sorry, Chatu, I forgot to actually mention that to you. So next week we will have the time change here for daylight saving times, Sunday early morning. So that means this Sunday session we want to change a little bit because it will be now 5.5 hours difference from Sri Lanka. So right now we start at 6. So I think Swami Nohan said we were trying to see if we can, even though we are going forward 1 hour without moving it to 7, whether we could do it 6:30. And I think so that will be 1:30 for Swami Nohan.
Yes. 1:30 is okay for me. So therefore, you are dedicating half an hour. I am dedicating half an hour.
To make up the 1 hour, yeah. So I think it won't change for Chatu. This Chatu is in Brisbane, so it will be just Canberra, Melbourne, and Sydney. We will change, go forward, but Chatu will still be on the same time, so he has to just change half an hour. So we will start the session at 6:30 from today. All this time we had it at 6, but we start the session at 6:30. And Swami Mahasi will join us at 7, which is 1:30 Sri Lanka time.
Okay. Okay, then we'll do like that from next week. Chatu, back to you.
Okay, so we'll just finish up as we're out of time anyway. So firstly, I'd like to thank Bhante for giving up his valuable time for this program, and also to pass on our merits and dedication, as well as the people working behind the scene and those seen and unseen participating and helping. And lastly, to all the participants, because without you, there would be no session. With that, I'd like to end the program. Thero and Sanai.
Yeah, Thero and Sanai.